Hi guys, welcome back. This is Above Average FPL. My name's Adam, and today I am joined by Pras. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well. Trent's just scored.
Trent's
Very,
just
very
scored.
happy.
I'm a little bit annoyed we didn't go live just before that went in, actually, because we've both got the game on. I normally have like a white screen up to give me a bit of extra, but I've got the football on for now, and yeah, it just came up, so that's good. That's improved my mood slightly. Been a bit ill over the weekend as I've been telling
Yeah, I was
people
gonna
and
ask,
stuff.
how are you feeling now?
Yeah, a lot better, to be honest. And thankfully, I was the one in the family that wasn't actually sick. So, that's a bonus. Everyone else is recovering now. Eldest one's going to go back to school tomorrow, so that's good. Youngest one another day. But yeah, no, we're feeling much better. It's just been a difficult weekend with a lot going on and or trying to get a lot done. And then immediately just absolutely nothing when the whole family just sort of breaks down like that. But yeah.
And then not easy seeing Baker enjoying himself in the sun, playing golf,
That's even worse,
piling
man.
on.
That's even worse. You'll all see. So we've got a video for. Hello to everyone in the chat who's here already, by the way. 8 guys or girls in the chat. Nice to see you. We've obviously got the Liverpool game on. We're expecting a few more people to join us once the Liverpool game is finished. And so, but we do have a video that Baker has sent across. Yeah, and you'll see the first 5 words. He says, "Are sorry, I'm not there." He's not sorry. He's not, like, he couldn't be less sorry if he tried.
We've seen the video, we've seen the tan, we've seen the sun.
Everyone's seen the photos, man. Everyone's seen the photos on Twitter. So, before we do that, how's your game week going?
Game week's going all right, actually. Now that Liverpool's coming through, Edison came through finally, so Man City didn't disappoint. I obviously got the rough with the Newcastle captaincy, so we'll come to that when we come to Newcastle. So I captained Trippier. But otherwise, I think it's a tough game, and we'll talk about it. Like, you could be, and of course, how can I forget Estupinian? I had him as well. So game week's been actually as good as it can get, apart from the Newcastle guys. So happy.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, mine's not been. I mean, I've fought against Estupinan and Salah, so yeah, it's not ideal for me. I think is a thing, and we're all kind of just hoping that that Trent now keeps his clean sheet. He's just dropped out the bonus as we've been talking, but yeah, it's been. I'm 55 points at the moment, down to 300k or something. It's actually a bit frustrating, but it is what it is now. I mean, I've sort of taken my medicine from the last 6 weeks, and I've just accepted that a few decisions haven't gone my way, and I've been. There's a combination of bad decisions and bad variants, like really bad variants as well, which is, it's not like I'm picking bad players, but maybe picking players out of form, maybe not in the right state of mind in the way their team's playing, etc.
I think you're being harsh. I mean, as we were chatting in our WhatsApp group, I mean, I think you chose 4 or 5 weeks ago to just go a different route because you didn't want to end up at 100k rank without having tried. And part of that actually led to me captaining Trippier as well. I knew he's not the best captain, but I thought, look, you can finish 60k, 70k, or you can try for something different. And, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then it's not the end of the world. And I think you had that mindset a little earlier than maybe I did or others did. But I don't think you need to be hard on yourself. I mean, if you do stuff like that on game week 17, 18, that gets you 500k rank. If you do this now, it's fine. I mean, you tried.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I appreciate the support. Right, let's get this video out from Baker before it does my head in. That yeah, I'll just play it now, and then and Salah's just missed a massive chance. I'll play that now, and everyone can watch the replay of that if they haven't seen it already. So here's Baker out in Scottsdale saying hello to everyone.
You're doing, so I can't be there tonight, but good hands with Adam and Pras. Obviously out in Arizona. Terrible scenes out here, boys, terrible scenes. Game week, I think 55 points, but still a massive red arrow. Trent and Salah to play nowish, I suppose. And then, yeah, the triple Brighton, triple Newcastle job. Still to come, Isaac Cap, so not really paid. That Wilson was a big hit, but I'm sure Pras will really want to talk about the auto sub jam. So I'll leave you with that. I've got no stresses. I'm going to go and get a drink. Go and tee off, boys. Catch you all soon.
Yeah, and there's me not switching off the intro again. But yeah, no, Baker, he's absolutely right. We will talk about the bench jam. That is definitely to come. And but yeah, he seems to be doing okay. Seems to be hitting balls well. He's got Salah and Trent now at the moment as well, so he's done all right with that. You know, as he said, I sat captain, but you know, it's better than trips, I guess.
He's on a boys outing, right?
Yeah. It's not family. No.
What a guy, man. Seriously. Like
12 months ago he was there and he's doing it
fun.
again.
Too much fun. Almost like the people who got some auto sub jam.
Let's go auto sub jam. Why not? Oh, I tell you what. Yeah, no, let's do auto sub jam and then we'll move on from there after that. So, on screen, I've got basically all the top players that were subbed out in the top 10k. For those that are listening, very quickly, they are Rashford, Kepa, Stones, Tony, KDB. It's not going to be Jota because he's come on now, but Dalot as well. Although Jota's not really a big deal. But it's mainly Rashford and Kepa, right? They're the big ones.
These are big numbers. I mean, big numbers. A 40% EO. I mean, 40% people in the top 10k started Rashford. 27% Kepa. And it happens to be the week where the first and second subs, the popular first and second subs are what? Estupinian, or in goal, Raya or Edison. So it's just one of those things. But I mean, we'll talk about it individually. I think people who started Rashford, I don't call it jam as such. I think because they knew that if either he starts or he doesn't start, and the most likely outcome was that he was not going to start. Because I didn't start Rashford myself because I knew that Ten Hag rarely lies. I mean, he was pretty clear, Ten Hag, in the conference that he's looking bad. Kepa, on the other hand.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I mean, you know, there was no indication that Mendy was going to get the start. I don't think at all. But I guess Frank's in that position where it doesn't really matter for Chelsea. So, you know, it's going to be difficult. He's rolled out a number of different players, hasn't he now? So no surprise that he's done it at the back as well. But yeah, some people fortunate enough to get Raya. I mean, hold on a second. I've got those coming in. So yeah, I mean, the main ones coming in. A few people got unlucky with Grealish. There were a few people that got unlucky with Grealish, definitely. But you know, Raya moving from 14 to 32, that's a pain. But Edison getting the rest of them basically. So, you know, there's definitely 8 points gained there. And then
I mean, it's basically Kepa scores 7.5 points essentially, or almost 7 points, which is, for me, that is jam for sure. Because if you sort of picked a Chelsea keeper who were going to play Nottingham Forest, who've been very, very attacking recently, then you don't deserve 8 points. I mean, look, I have to be blunt. You know, you can throw into arguments like West Ham are attacking, so you didn't start Raya, or Edison has been conceding. But yeah, that's jam. But for me, Rashford, instead of Rashford, you get somebody else. And I think Estupinian was a lot of people's first sub for Rashford. So his 5% probably comes from there. But this number for Estupinian at 57, I bet that this would have been like 20, 30 had it not been for Rashford's injury. Because people like me, before Rashford's injury, I was benching Estupinian. I mean, you can see now it was for Trent, and Trent scored a goal. He may keep a clean sheet. So there was logic in doing it. So they would have been tiers beyond what we're seeing here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, it's not as big a jump as, I mean, maybe it's just there's a loud minority that have got, you just see a lot of tweets with Estupinian on it, right? I've seen them with Eze on them. I've seen Gundogan on them as well. And I've seen Eze and Estupinian, and I've seen Gundogan and Estupinian on the same bench. Like,
there's a popular one going around, right?
Carnage.
Who's got Edison coming on.
I don't get the Edison one. I don't get the Edison one. I don't know how you can think that there's a better keeper or better defense out there than playing against Everton, right? As City. I don't get it.
I mean, I had Danny on Burning Questions on Friday actually, and his thinking was, you know, Man City will not play their best team, which was correct. I mean, you know, Stones didn't play, the key midfielders didn't play. which could make them weaker. Everton had just scored 5 goals against Brighton, and then you have Nottingham Forest, the worst away team in the league. But yeah, my logic was it's also Chelsea, and Chelsea are not playing like a top 10 team. Deservedly, they're not in the top 10. So how can you back a keeper in that team versus a Man City keeper?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, jam, eh? What can you do?
Lots of jam.
Lots of jam. We got games to speak about. There's going to be no wheel today just because I just didn't have time to set it up. So apologies to everyone for that. But I did get everything set up, obviously apart from the Leicester Liverpool game. So we will go through those. But before we do, just a couple of quick plugs. As always, the Above Average FPL podcast and YouTube channels are sponsored by Crypto Block Dan. Go follow Dan if you want to learn more about the blockchain, more about crypto and the use cases of the technology, etc., etc. He is a senior acquisition analyst for a company called Yield Guild Games. They're in the play to earn crypto space. Really great guy, and he's chatting with us in Discord about stuff. And you drop him a follow on Twitter and ask him any questions that you have. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy to answer them. Also, a massive shout out to Sertalp. Sertalp provides all the XG data plots that we use on Above Average FPL. He has a website, FPL Optimize, helps you basically just make sense of how you expect to progress through the game week. Can be quite settling, can be quite daunting when you get the big dip. I've got a few of those in the last few weeks, but it's a great tool. And he also does his FPL Optimized podcast with his friend Bass, and I believe they're recording pretty much right now as we are recording, but so that'll be out probably tomorrow. So you can give them a listen after you've listened to us, of course. So thanks to Sertalp as always for your data plots, mate. Really, really appreciate it. We're coming to the end of the season, but if you do want to join us over on Discord, patreon.com/aboveaverageFPL. Not really going to push that, to be honest, because we are, as I say, we're coming to the end of the season. Only a couple of game weeks left. What you can do for us is you can hit the like button, hit subscribe, and you'll help us in more ways than you can imagine, and you will get to see our content when it comes out direct to you. Games. Let's just start off at the top, and we'll go straight to the Leeds Newcastle game, mate. So this was obviously, big decisions. In terms of captaincy, you and I both went with Trippier. We looked at the fact that they kept one clean sheet in 14 games, and Leeds had scored in every game for the last 10 games, and went, I'm going to target this one for a clean sheet. I think we knew it was a bit. We knew it was risky, right?
It was risky for sure, but the idea was, I think people understand it because I'd shared at least the thought process before. Is I was not convinced with the Isak shout, right? I mean, that's the popular option. Most people have gone for Wilson. Also took a punt, but that's paid off. So well played. You got the points, couple of penalties, but he was also central. So actually, I would say those guys deserve the points. The Isak one was the worry that he plays on the left, and you saw in this game, basically created 0.07 XGI, won a penalty, got 5 points. Yes, people will say he could have gotten lucky, had Wilson come off before the second pen and you would have got it. Well, that means he would have got very lucky. So he didn't get very lucky, and you didn't get a second penalty off him. So I think it was okay going against him. We'll see what happens in the second game, but Brighton should score. You just have to sort of accept that. I was thinking, if this game went differently, if Leeds doesn't score till halftime, Newcastle doesn't score till halftime, it's 0-0, becomes very tight, then maybe a Trippier clean sheet is on the offing, but didn't happen.
Yeah, didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, fair play. I mean, I liked the Wilson punt a few weeks ago. It just felt like it made sense that they were going to play at least Wilson. I mean, like, the man's scored more goals than anyone else in the last 5 weeks, isn't he? Something like that. And we knew he was on penalties. I think Isak was also a fair enough shout. I do think people moaning about the Wilson not being subbed off, 2 minutes before is a bit shit. But I think Newcastle really limping their way to Champions League football here.
I mean, to be fair, the Arsenal game was obviously difficult, and this one, game state, right? I mean, had Leeds gone up 2-0, that would have been maybe made the game even more interesting. They didn't, obviously. Pope decides to. You don't have Pope anymore, do you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
You
I
did.
got the Pope. I got the Pope penalty save. I was so
You
happy
did.
with that. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, then you did make some points of this game.
I did make some points. Yeah.
So you got both of Pope's penalties.
Yes.
I have owned Pope since game week 26. Obviously, I sold him for Edison a couple of game weeks ago. I got none of his clean sheets, not a single one. Penalty save is a distant.
Yeah.
I wasn't even close. But anyway, but game state. I think what was interesting from my perspective, Newcastle wise, was even though Isak and Wilson started together, what the original thinking was he's going to play out left, doesn't get enough involvement, but actually they changed it up a bit, right? It was almost like a 4-2-3-1. Where Willock and Joe Linton were operating on the left, interchanging on the left, and Isak was almost just behind, or he was very central. So people have hope if you have Isak captain.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, another game to come for them. Cool. Nothing really else to say fantasy wise about Leeds.
Well, highest XGI in the game for Newcastle. Who was it?
XGI, I don't know. XG was obviously a non-penalty.
Non-pen. Armand Trippier.
Was it
0.41?
See, I saw that somewhere, but the data that I'm looking at is a little bit different.
Non-pen XGI, and you saw that from me.
Oh, I'm sorry, non-pen XGI. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Trippier was number 1, Cher was number 2, then Wilson, then Willock, Joe Linton, Isak. It was like 6th or 7th. So yeah, it wasn't the best. And the concern would be, I guess, for Newcastle or Isak owners like myself and you. You have Isak, right?
No.
I should know
I've
your
got
team better.
Pope, Trippier, Botman, and Trippier captain. I've got 4 Newcastle defenders.
Quadruple Newcastle. Okay,
Yeah.
so the concern for Newcastle attacker owners would be, do you back them against Leicester? I think given what we're seeing today from Leicester, you do.
Yeah.
But then do you back an Isak when Wilson's in red hot form and he may not play centrally and not on pens? And Isak's had 0 shots on target in the last 3 games. So again, I'm giving these warnings about Isak, but also saying he's central, so he could score. But all I'm saying is that will be a decision to be made in game week 37 on whether you want to start Isak or not, or shift him on to a Alvarez or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Cher had 4 shots at the weekend.
Yeah,
Wilson 5, including his pens. But yeah, I mean, Cher had more shots than anyone else. Mad. Okay, cool. Moving on. Tottenham Villa. I wish I could say I watched the highlights of this game with interest, but normally I'd watch the game trying to be objective, but actually at the time, I was so bedridden I couldn't even bring myself to watch it. I had to sleep. It was pretty much, you can see from the chart, it was basically like we set up in some weird shape where we had 5 across the back, but then we were all down the center. It was really weird. It was almost like an anchor type thing. So it basically looked like we never really got out of each other's way, and as a result, we just didn't create anything at all. And Kane's penalty being the only chance, plus a couple of others that he had, or one other that he had in the game. I mean, if you've managed to hold on to Kane throughout this and still got him, I mean, fair play to you. I mean, I think he's probably got to go now, only because you've got to move to you've got to get to Bruno somehow if you've still got him. But
if you have Kane, you don't have Salah, probably.
Or Trent, right? It's somewhere there that you're missing out. But I mean, he just keeps scoring. He's scored in more individual games than anybody else this season. Something like 24 games he scored in. No one else has scored in as many games.
Well, he is. I think he needs 2 more goals to make his best ever, and isn't he like a few points away from his highest FPL total ever?
Yeah.
He requires 3 more points to get to 242, which is crazy.
And he's just not that I wouldn't say he's gone under the radar, but he's just been completely overshadowed. I wouldn't say outclassed. He's been bloody good, Kane has, but Haaland has just come in and stomped on him basically as an FPL asset. So, and it's a bit late to be looking at his long-term stats thinking it's a good move. So I don't know.
No, Villa are good, man. I mean, that's like 6 wins in a row at home. So Villa are good.
Yeah. They're good. I saw them at New Year's Day. They were better than us on New Year's Day. They're obviously better than us here. Emery's done a fantastic job there. Like a fantastic job.
Some jam for Watkins owners. I mean, jam is maybe overstretching it, but obviously the assist was that a fantasy assist with the foul. But he did get a couple of big chances, I think, or he created one for that Bailey's shot, and then he had one.
He had one himself. Yeah.
So decent. Yeah. I mean, but this is worrying, man. I mean, look at Spurs' flat line until minute 55 or something.
Yeah.
0.
Absolutely nothing. There's no shots whatsoever. Just nothing at all. It's not to say that we haven't started slow in a lot of our games this season, because you do see this quite often, that Tottenham will only generate up to half an XG in the first half of a game and then suddenly take off.
Yeah,
it's not even like it's game state here. I mean, yes, we're losing. You'd expect us to kick up a little bit, but not much happened in that first half. They just controlled the first half of the game. Apart from a few big chances, right? Or the Ramsey one's not big, I suppose. 0.15 is okay. It's big enough, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Spurs at all. To be honest, I expected this to be more forward thinking with Mason in charge, like we were when he came in and sort of took over from Mourinho a few years ago. But it just hasn't been the way, and we'll just wait and see what happens. I mean, Tottenham are right off for the rest of the season. Last 2 games, I wouldn't even bother.
I mean, you say that.
No.
Game week 38.
Yeah,
you
I
get
know it's
news.
Leeds.
Haaland's not starting. Haaland to Kane.
Haaland starts the last game. There's absolutely no way he doesn't start the last game.
We will see. I mean, when we come to Man City, we're gonna sort of let's do a little bit of when they win the title, what teams they play out, when rotation could happen. Obviously, it's fun for fun, but I think there's a chance game week 38 is when rotation happens, not 37. But we will come to them.
Fair enough. Let's move on to teams that neither of us really care about. Let's go on to Chelsea versus Forest. Although I will say I did for a brief time I did put Sterling into my team earlier on today. No, just because I have Son in there more than anything, and I've got Son and Rashford, so like a Sterling and Bruno feels. I can't get to Salah without doing something like I wanted to go Martinelli, but he's injured now, so
yeah.
Something like Sterling and Bruno sounds a bit fun, seeing as I'm now just having fun with the game. So I've got 2 transfers to do it with, so why not? But Forest, half decent attacking team at the moment, done all right. Awani's banging him in at the moment as well.
Doubles,
man. Yeah. He looks like he's just starting to find his feet a bit. I mean, I saw a couple of YouTube clips from him last year when he was playing out in Germany, but didn't really see much of it. Any kind of that real strength that he has that you've seen in the last 2 weeks, and
I mean, I don't know if you know 11ify on Twitter. He's like the biggest Awani Stan account, because his underlying data was actually pretty good in Germany. But anyway, we're not going to buy him now unless you think Arsenal are really going to crumble in game week 37. But I think the big story here was Kepa losing his spot. And I saw some people were saying Mendy made a mistake in the first goal and he's clearly going to lose his spot back and Kepa's going to come back. Did you think Mendy could have done better, but I wouldn't call it a mistake in the first goal, would you?
I wouldn't have called it a mistake. No, I interestingly, away from FPL, So Rare called it a mistake and they punished him they penalised him for it in their point system. It was given as an error that led to a goal. So it was seen as a mistake, but I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was anything really. I don't know.
I mean, fair, but I think at this stage, Lampard's. I mean, Pochettino's obviously been not formally announced, but we know he's going there. Lampard's role is basically to see out the squad, to see who's still keen, who's not, to play them all, just to test them out so Pochettino has a better idea of who to keep, who to sell. I think that's all that's left for him. So you can expect mass rotation in every single spot.
Yeah, I'm so sad about that, man. I'm so sad about that.
I didn't want to bring it up in the Spurs section, so maybe you want to talk about it here.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah. Okay, I guess.
Any Chelsea players? They have a double game week coming up.
Sterling.
Apart from Sterling?
No. I just can't try. I wouldn't. Not that I really trust Sterling, but would you trust Felix, Havertz, Mudryk?
Not a single Chelsea player over a Newcastle single game week player, basically, is my summary. Yeah. You wouldn't get a Chelsea defender. Like Chalobah looks nailed now on that right, or at least being preferred. A striker, Felix, Sterling, but these are all unnecessary when we have other better options. So, no.
Yeah, that's very true. No, and it's a terrible double as well.
Yeah, as bad as it gets.
Yeah. Moving on. Palace.
The machine, the Roy Hodgson machine.
Yeah, I mean, look, Andy Martin, as much as we love to hate him / love him / hate him for his opinions on Twitter, in some ways, I mean, the fixtures have been a lot better for them in the past few weeks, and it's allowed them to gain a bit of momentum. That said, playing Zaha, Eze, and Ayew, and Elise as like a front four, and just letting the three behind Ayew just run the show has been a complete change for the way that Palace have played, and it just gives them so much more fluidity going forward. Eze looks great. Elise looks great. Zaha just looks like Zaha, which is, hot and cold and whatever. But, the other two boys are brilliant. And Ayew seems to turn up in moments that you don't expect him to and provide a smatter of brilliance, which you don't expect. It's incredible. And then just disappears for ages again. But, the two other boys, Elise and Eze, both together, I mean, they're just great fun to watch. Just brilliant on the ball.
Basically from Vieira, Hodgson's just got Eze back in the team.
It feels like that's it, doesn't it?
And just, have them play. It's sometimes just one of these things. I mean, if I ask you now, obviously now we're talking about Eze, so the answer, you already know the answer. But this season, we've been blessed with cheap mids, right? We can think of Almiron in the beginning, March, Mitoma, McAllister. All these guys are under 6 million. You've got Gross, you've got Trossard, Martinelli. The highest point scorer in FPL, under 6 million, is Eze. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah, that's mad. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good shot. We've been talking about Palace having these great fixtures. I think the last time we podded together, the last time Baker missed, we were talking about these unreal Palace fixtures. You ended up getting Olise.
I had Olise, yeah.
One of those very small margins. You could have gone Eze and sort of been 50 points better off.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, Bournemouth. Nah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I literally said meh. That's all I said.
Well, as a United fan, because for me, the toughest game left is away to Bournemouth, only because Bournemouth have typically been good at home. And so looking at it as a fixture run, home game Chelsea, home game Fulham, I actually thought away to Bournemouth would be the trickiest in the three. But looking at them, we sort of throw around the term on the beach so much, but look at what basically the post-game comments from the manager was. These guys were not putting in enough effort. It felt like we were not going for it.
Yeah,
I think he's talked about not being passive, being too passive, not fighting for every ball. That is basically being on the beach.
Yeah.
The Twitter handle also, obviously, once they confirmed that they're staying in the Premier League, also had this video where everybody was saying, so they're done.
It's brilliant. They're done. They're done. The Premier League next year, that's all they need.
Exactly.
They've proven everyone wrong. That's all it needs.
So I'm expecting this wild game against Man United where they'll throw caution to the wind. It could end up being a victory. You know,
Last
one of
home
those
game of the
3-2
season,
games.
though, as well. Last home game of the season, it will be one that they want to go out. These teams do want to go out with a bang, I think, as well.
So lots of goals.
Yeah, why not? Perfect. That's why I've got double United defence.
United are good. We'll come to United, but yeah.
We're coming to United now, mate. We're just going there right now. We're moving on. Yeah. I mean, Wolves away from home are completely different to Wolves at home. They're like it's so night and day. It's crazy. Again, another team that's on the beach, but completely night and day. I think Anthony could have had about 4 goals by half time, couldn't he not?
He's actually a low key. I mean, we'll talk about the future, but yeah, I think he wasted 2 Bruno assists, potential assists. He obviously assisted Martial, which was a Bruno pre-assist. He was involved. He is all, without Rashford, pretty much all the attack was going through him. Sancho was, he did get one chance later, which was, I think, one of the ones in the second half. But yeah, Sancho, Anthony is coming into it. If Rashford's not playing, he will get more minutes as a result as well. And between him and Bruno, they have started to pass to each other. Otherwise, they were both too selfish. And you could see that there was a little bit of an undercurrent, not the Salah Mane type, not yet.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit of undercurrent. I felt that they were not as okay to pass to each other. But there was this chance where Bruno was through on goal, and then he looked and he thought, "Shall I shoot?" And he said, "Okay, let me pass it to Anthony." For being the assister. And I think Anthony is a low-key decent punt for 37.
Fair enough. How did who started? Shaw started a centre back, didn't he?
No. He started left back.
Oh, he's left back.
So again, in keeping with the theme of Ten Hag is pretty honest. Ten Hag told us that Varane is fit.
Yeah.
So everybody knew that because Varane is fit, it could still be Shaw at left back because Varane is obviously right-footed and Ten Hag likes a left footer playing left centre back. But he actually went against that and played Lindelof. Lindelof he's okay with his left foot. So maybe that's what he chose to do in the end. So you could see Varane, Lindelof, one of Dalot or Van Bissaka and Shaw now for the rest of the time. So Shaw's potential goes way up as long as Varane stays fit. And so as a result, Shaw created that big chance. In fact, he should have got that assist for that big miss. I think Anthony had that big chance really at the beginning, and Shaw could have had that assist, and obviously he got the bonus.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, sorry, I should have known he was playing left back. I really didn't pay attention to lineups, did I at all? This is going really, really well.
No, don't worry, man.
So there's chats asking about Garnacho, whether he's going to get any minutes. We still think it's going to be like bit part. Do we think Sancho's done enough to keep his place in there?
One start each for me. I mean, Garnacho looked strong. Ten Hag loves him, and he's basically a very high potential player. Works hard, makes the runs, can shoot.
Yeah, it's just high energy, isn't it? It's weird because it doesn't look like Sancho's got the same drive that he did in Dortmund.
He's had the injury. I want to give him some time. Obviously, we don't know why he was out for a while. There were some personal issues. He's been unfit. Obviously not the same player at Dortmund, but he's one of those things, people said that about Shaw, or people said that, in the past about other players, and they came back strong. Some people even said that about Rashford a year or two ago. So I think, Sancho's clearly there. He can play on the left, play on the right, but, Garnacho is putting his hand up. So I can definitely see him starting at least one in the double. I think 2 will be a stretch because he is also coming back from an injury, but he's dirt cheap, right? So if he's enabling something, some people are looking at maybe Rashford down to Garnacho, and then one of your Newcastle mids up to a Kane or somebody else that can get you that, big haul in the next 2 game weeks. Not that Kane has been getting big hauls, but if you want it to be different, you can. But I don't think Garnacho starts both.
Fair enough. I think that pretty much covers United. Bruno, you think is essential for next week?
Definitely essential. I mean, I think low-key, I think he's the second best captaincy shout. Not because I own him, but because I don't see any other City option apart from Haaland. Because if you're assuming rotation, then there is rotation. If Rashford is not fit, then basically in terms of the doubling teams, it's either a Brighton mid or a Bruno, and I think Bruno is showing the signs. Obviously, he was threatening as usual and got his assist in the end, which was almost a lucky assist. I don't know if you saw it, but Garnacho could have passed the ball to Weghorst and then scored anyway. He chose to score and give us the assist points. But Bruno's good. First for 7 goal attempts, highest, 5 chances created, the highest non-pen XG.
Yeah, all screams essential, doesn't it? 19 points minimum.
But then, it comes down to team structure with Bruno. Some people need to sell Salah to get him, and I don't think that's worth it. So is it, do you want to take a -8 to get Bruno? Maybe not, especially if captaincy is not in play. But he should, people who have him are in a good spot.
Cool. Game that we probably don't need to spend much time on, but Southampton down. Mitrovic back. I don't know what else to say. I mean, one thing I've noticed from Fulham the last 4 or 5 weeks is that Harry Wilson has definitely become more involved and has picked up a few assists along the way, which is interesting. Good for him. But no one's picking either of these teams. So,
well, we can target them. So a lot of people are looking at Salah out, for example, this week for Bruno, what we just talked about.
Yeah.
But Salah plays Southampton, game week 38.
Yeah, away. It is away. I mean, it depends. It depends on how you view that home versus away stuff, and what type of Southampton are going to turn up. There's going to be players. There's going to be players that go down. I mean, we like to talk about data and stuff like that, but there's going to be players that are going down that are going to want to show themselves for one last time in the Premier League, so they can try and get themselves back up to the Premier League through a transfer. So there's still going to be something to play for some of these guys, I would say. Not that they've showed very much this season at all. But...
I mean, they won't capitulate.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking scenarios of obviously applicable to those who have Salah. But I'm just talking scenarios of game week 38.
I'm just trying to make myself feel better about not having him.
And I'm not trying to scare you too much. But if there is Haaland out news, everyone is switching to Salah. That's the story. Maybe that's upside for you. Maybe you go to somebody else and he bangs. So there is no right answer.
Yeah.
But I think that's the auto second choice in game week 38. So if you're switching Salah out in game week 37 to get a Bruno or a De Bruyne, I think given what Salah's done with 3 assists tonight, not a lot of people will go to De Bruyne. But some people may be desperate to get Bruno and then somebody else with the funds that are left over. I can see that as a move. Not that I recommend it, but I can see it as a move. They need to think about what will happen if Haaland is benched. If you get the news that Haaland is benched game week 38.
Yep. Very true. Very true. I love how we've taken Southampton, Fulham and turned it into what happens if Haaland is benched in 38. Brilliant. Let's move.
But did you see this tweet from Ben Krillin 8 weeks ago when Mitrovic got his ban, the original ban? He tweeted his return from the ban will be the game against Southampton, and I can see him now celebrating the goal that will relegate Southampton from the Premier League. Now, it wasn't that, obviously, because it was Vinicius's goal that relegated them. But yeah, it was him. He's back.
Yeah. He just scores goals, doesn't he, Mitrovic? And when you give him that many games off, well, he deserved them, but yeah, when he has that many games off, he obviously wanted to come back with a bang.
I mean, Marco Silva was really weird now that we're talking about Fulham, but after the game, he was like, oh, I couldn't choose which striker I wanted to start, so I went with Vinicius, and in the next game, I will decide. It's almost like, obviously, he's trying to play up Vinicius and play on his confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, big chance he wasn't going to miss from where he scored from. So, anywho, Brentford versus West Ham. No Tony. And 3.7 XG. And I don't think it's down to that though. I think it's very much down. Obviously, West Ham changed a lot of things in their team. And it showed their focus is on the European competition as far as I'm concerned there. Does that mean we can target them for the next 2 weeks. If you want to with Leeds and Leicester, go for it. No, I mean that's the problem you've got.
I mean, the thing is, this was obviously because it's sandwiched in between the two legs.
Yeah.
So if they win, then they're in the final. That's a massive game. And what that means is basically Bowen and others like Ben Rama, Antonio will be wrapped in cotton wool. Whether they play or not, they'll probably play, but they'll get 50, 60 minutes and that's it. So it's an opportunity for teams like Leeds to get a result. And, they are key in the relegation battle in terms of the teams that they're playing themselves. So, yeah, I mean, I think in this particular case, we talked about bench jam. I think Tony owners who started Tony almost, they should have deserved more points. I mean, this was a game where Tony could have braced easily, given how many chances they created.
Yeah, agreed.
Did you think it was a handball, the Ings goal? The
didn't see it.
One?
Didn't see it, I'll be honest.
Soccer Saturday, basically the guy who was on it was like, oh, this can't be a handball. It was off the shoulder. This can't be a handball. Obviously, I don't own Raya and I'm livid. Like, how can you not give a Raya goal? He's conceded and it's wrongly. And then you look at it and it's pretty clear to me that it's a handball. So, it's one of those things. But I think, as usual, Brentford in your style, creating some good high XG chances, the Me chance,
big chances,
the Damsgaard chance. So, yeah, and West Ham only got into it after Rice and Benrahma came on, and that's when Ing scored as well. So it was an off game. So it was rightly one to target for people who started Tony and Raya.
Cool. Moving on. So a fun stat about this one that I found earlier on is that the Everton defence had 1.45 XG compared to Man City's 0.75. So the Everton defence smashed it, basically, but couldn't score because they're Everton and they don't score. And Gundogan goes into one of his moments where he spends like 3 or 4 games a season, just a nice little streak, just scores, and just does wonderful stuff for the Haaland goal as well. And yeah, I mean, City cruising now, do you think?
I mean, it's done.
11 in a row.
They will beat Chelsea. I mean, they could be champions even before that, as we know, if Arsenal lose to Nottingham Forest, or I think if they don't win to Nottingham Forest. Yeah. So you could be looking at them being champions. This will have implications on their lineup. So obviously we are going to dabble into those predictions in a minute. But I think as a game, I think people need to be a little bit more balanced about Gundo. 5 shots, 4 goals, last 2 games. He's involved. Obviously, on the eye, it looks like he's always there in the box, but literally he's had 5 shots. And the free kick was amazing. The goal that he took, the first one, was amazing. That flick to score. But yeah, I'd be a little bit cautious. I don't think he's the punt. If we're talking about gameweek 37 midfielder punts, if Rashford is out, I would much prefer somebody who doesn't start against Real Madrid so that you get an off chance of 2 starts, right? Somebody like a Mahrez, if you can get to him. So while I think Gundo is a good player, at least me personally, I wouldn't look at him for game week 37. But let's talk what do you think? I mean, in terms of, let's say Arsenal have won. I think they put out a strong team against Chelsea, right? Last home game, they're going to get the trophy.
Yeah,
if they
I
win.
think it's
So they'll go for it.
Exactly. I think last game, I mean, like I've been saying the last few weeks, Haaland definitely starts. He starts every game. If he needs to be brought off after 45 to rest him, then fine. But even in the press conferences last week, Pep was saying like he's good, he's strong, he's physically recovering well. He's young. All the stuff that we know, and we all continue to question the minutes. But I would agree that he will start a relatively strong side against Chelsea. I mean, whilst they haven't been great this season, Chelsea are a team that could cause them some problems. They've got good enough. They've got good enough players. I mean, the Chelsea players just aren't playing very well as a team at the moment, but certainly players that can cause them issues. But so I'd expect probably 3 out of 4 of the starting defence that play against Real Madrid, and then I would expect to see Gundogan. I'd expect to see, is Rodri fit? I assume he's fit. He's just rested, so I'd expect to see him. I'd expect to see De Bruyne, to be honest, at least for 60, right? And then, it's a toss up. I mean, Grealish was rested at the weekend, so he can start. Haaland will start, and then, he might just then start with. He probably will start. He could start with Alvarez as well, couldn't he? To be fair.
I mean, so I'll tell you my theory. My theory is, obviously they want to win, but Pep will care about the Brighton game as well, because he'll see it as a challenge. Because a lot of people are talking about City needing a rest because they'll be in 2 finals. I think one thing I want people to remember is, after game week 38, there's a week break, then the FA Cup final. There's a week break, then the Champions League final, if they get there. So there is no concern apart from just, maybe I want to avoid an injury.
Yeah.
So there is absolutely no concern in terms of starting these players.
Yeah.
So for me, he will see the Brighton game as the controlling game. So, the game where he likes to play Grealish and he likes to play Bernardo. So then I'm working backwards. I think the Chelsea game is where Foden and Mahrez get a game. So that's on the wings. I think Haaland starts both. KDB gets one. Maybe Chelsea, maybe Brighton. So I'm just thinking he'll use the Brighton game as a challenge, because that's a good team that he wants to play before the 2 finals. This is obviously my guesswork, right? I'm not Luke, but I'm just thinking.
No, it makes
and
sense.
He'll want to give it a go against Chelsea and win that game. So for me, 37, I reckon City played 2 strong lineups. And then if there is rotation of, the Ortega and Palmer and these kind of kids, I think that happens in 38, if at all. Doesn't happen in 37, according to me.
According to you. Cool. I'll clip you on that. That's cool. No, that's it. All makes sense. Yeah, I mean these guys have been playing 3 days a week, or not 3 days a week. 3 games a week, or two to 3 games a week, basically since the start of the new year. So, having weeks off between games is ample time in terms of just normal fatigue recovery. So yeah, there should be no issues whatsoever. So I don't disagree with you on that at all.
And he'll see, I mean, Pep's that kind of manager, don't you think? That he'll like playing De Zerbi, like he'll look forward to that game, and he's not going to play the kids. He's going to say, I like the challenge. I mean, this guy has just spanked Arsenal. He's the next best thing that people are talking about. I want to challenge myself against De Zerbi's team. I'm not going to put out kids.
It's certainly the style of football that he'll want to challenge himself against. And we know what Pep's like when he wants to build. He's a momentum guy, right? So he's not going to want to lose any of the games for the rest of the season. He's not going to want to go into a cup final having lost anything, having drawn anything. They've won 11 on the bounce. He'll want 3 more. He'll want to go in 14 on the bounce into an FA Cup final where they play Man United. He'll want to smash them to pieces. Sorry, Pras. And then he'll want to smash. He'll want to smash it in the Champions League final as well. Once they get through Real Madrid. If they get through Real Madrid. I should say if they get through Real Madrid.
As the only treble holders, we're still rooting for. Arsenal have now let us down, so we're still rooting for Real Madrid and, of course, Man United in the FA Cup final.
Yeah,
it's going to be difficult.
Enough. Yeah, fair enough.
But a stat for game week 38. I know you'll do another pod before that, but Brentford has scored in every home game in the last 11 home games. So that clean sheet anyway. I don't care if Edison starts or not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. No one's looking at game week 38 for cleans, Pras.
This is true. But you know what I mean? Like, I think that'll be a game that can maybe be more of a write-off for City. But we will see closer to the time on where they are. Yeah. It all also depends on how the Real Madrid game goes. I mean, if it goes until extra time, people actually have cramps. That'll then determine the weekend lineup a lot more than anything else we're talking about.
Yeah. Cool. We won't go through the Leeds, the Leicester-Liverpool game because everyone's just watched it. So thank you for joining us if you've done so since then. There's over 100 of you in here. So hello to all of you. Once again, if you do like the content that myself, Baker and Pras, thanks Pras for jumping in, have been putting out, then make sure you hit the like button. And if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe. And then moving on to the Arsenal versus Brighton game, and we'll wrap this up in the next
this one, didn't you?
10 minutes. We'll wrap everything up in the next 10 minutes or so, just because it's a bit of a late start, and we can wrap everything up. That'd be good. But yeah, I'd love to talk about this game for, well, no, it's not mixed emotions at all. I'm pretty happy with how this game went. Even I was pissed off when Estupiñán scored. The game was already over at that point. And
it's the same, like I was watching the Liverpool Leicester one. Obviously, as a Man United fan, I want Liverpool to draw or lose. But once they score 2, I'm like, okay, go thrash them. Just end it now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can be like that. I can be like that. Well, never. No. Well, I can't be like that if I've got Arsenal players. I'm never like that. Honestly, I'm never like that. But against Arsenal, people can score as many. It's better if it's not players that are going to hurt me in FPL. But let's put it out there and just say that if we go back just a few weeks, me and Baker were chatting about the Undav goal.
Yep.
Which was a chip against Wolves. This was a lob.
This was a lob.
Very, very clear.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that Undav managed to come out and actually just demonstrate that for me.
Clarify.
And just put it to bed. That was a lob versus the chip against Wolves. Thank you, Dennis Undav. Really appreciate it.
What do you think of the ref? I mean, one of these things, it's been one of those popular commentators saying, the ref is keeping his cards in his pocket at the beginning of the game, managing the game, not letting the tempers flare. Doesn't it have the exact opposite effect? I mean, you give Martinelli a yellow card, then Caicedo doesn't,
smash into the back of him,
smash into him, and doesn't high five Mitoma. I mean, I think that was just poor at the beginning.
Yeah, it was extremely poor, and it does. I appreciate that the refs want to, have this high bar, but let's clarify. Let's just understand what that is. It's not barging into the back of players out of nowhere. It was a bad challenge on Mitoma, and it was a bad challenge by Caicedo. So it should have been 2 yellow cards, and I think what happened. Just 2 yellow cards on those challenges, and I don't know whether much changes though. It doesn't feel like. I mean, obviously there's a bit of jeopardy here. There was a bit of jeopardy here for Arsenal, obviously trying to make sure they stay in the title race, but for Brighton, I guess it was just a test to see how well they could play, and that shook them a little bit. That Caicedo challenge just shook them a little bit. Martinelli tried to be obviously a bit cheeky and try and get that challenge in. I heard Roy Keane at half time. He's so typical, isn't he, Roy Keane? He's just like, just sometimes you just need to give one back, right? As just as being part of the team, you just have to give one back to him, and that's the way football works sometimes. And in some ways, the game hasn't progressed from that. Sometimes you do just have to stamp down and just protect your teammates out there, I guess. And some people won't like to see it, and that's fair enough. I don't not disagree with you, but yeah, it could have been dealt with better. It could have been calmed down. Like, yellow cards can calm the game down, definitely. And a lot of refs are just letting stuff go, which creates problems later on in the games.
Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, structurally, I think it's worth talking about the fact that Gilmour had an excellent game. So that means, obviously he started with Caicedo in midfield, which means McAllister got to play number 10. Didn't get the returns, but he did do that. Gross was right back. Interestingly, initially Mitoma started on the right, and Enciso started on the left, right? Basically, they were trying to go around the defender instead of cutting in, which was interesting, and then they switched back.
I thought that was a bit. It felt like it felt untested. But they did. You're right. They did switch back, and then everything started to click a bit better for them. I don't know whether that's just the relationship that Estupiñán has with Mitoma, because you just see how that left hand side just clicks between Estupiñán and Mitoma, and normally I guess it's McAllister on that left hand side that just those little triangles that they build together. I mean, the goals were probably great examples of that, particularly the Enciso goal, where obviously Estu had 2 bites at that one, but I thought they were a lot better once. I mean, it shows here, but eye test will tell you that they were a lot better once Mitoma moved back out to that left hand side.
For sure.
And he tormented. I don't know whether it was like Ben White obviously had expectations to be up against Matoma, and then the first 20 minutes he's like, what's this? And then suddenly Matoma comes over and he's not ready, and that's when he started getting torn a new one. But I don't know.
I mean, he's been a better centre. I mean, it's worked for Arsenal this year, him at right back, but he's not a right back.
Who's
not the traditional centre right.
I saw this guy's name and I couldn't work out who he was. What's his name? He started for him. Jakob Kiwi. Who the hell is that? Who's the guy that started alongside Gabriel?
Kiwior.
Yeah, who is he?
They signed him.
Genuinely, who is he?
No, he's a centre back. He's decent actually, good prospect. In fact, a lot of people were asking for him to be starting before they did this whole holding experiment, and he's come in. I think he started the first time against Chelsea, did very well, and he's started ever since.
Yeah, where did he come from? He came from Spezia in Italy in January. Okay, Polish guy. I'd never even heard of him, and I only saw his name when he came out for the second half. Yeah, no idea who he is.
He's been okay. I mean, this has cost them, right? The whole Saliba injury. Not that is the reason they didn't win. I mean, City could score 94 points. That's the reason they don't win.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Saliba injury was big in terms of just they have conceded, I think, in the last 11 games now. That's not championship quality or winning the championship quality.
Yeah, apparently it's Champions League quality if you look at Newcastle, but yeah, it's not Premier League Champions quality. No. No.
Do you know one very interesting thing I read? Now I don't remember the tweet and I don't know who tweeted it. There's a lot of talk of De Zerbi taking over good players that Potter had made, the passing and the speed and everything else. But if you look at the starting lineup that played against Arsenal, there's a number of players who didn't even have 5 starts under Potter. So Steele in goal,
yeah,
Colwill, Enciso, Estupinian, Mitoma, Ferguson.
Yeah.
All these guys are raw, made by De Zerbi, which is exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah. He's done a fantastic job there. And I think you're right in what you're saying again about Pep, in that he'll want to go against that, and he'll want to beat that. Because it will be like a double message, won't it? It'll be like, well, you guys got schooled and we're going to school them.
Yeah.
And that's how we play this game, Mikel. That's how we do it. So,
do you think he stays, De Zerbi?
Where does he go?
But we will see. I mean, maybe not in England. I mean, you guys. Yeah. I mean, you guys are the only ones now looking for a high-profile coach, anyway. So
yeah,
not
but
you.
There's an argument that Brighton are. I mean, the problem with Brighton, unfortunately for them at the moment, is that they're a club that will need to continue to sell. Right, they're a club that will continue to need to sell. They'll need to continue to develop. And they've been. Let me be clear, they've been absolutely superb this season, and I think there's absolutely no doubting that. But if Tottenham came for De Zerbi and put the right money on the table, I think there'd be certain demands that De Zerbi would need. But it's a bigger club, and it's a step up despite the league position this season. So I don't know. I mean, he's one of the podcasts I follow. Is the Extra Inch. It's a Spurs podcast, and speak highly of De Zerbi as well as a few other managers as well. So I'm just waiting to see what happens with Tottenham, and I don't know. I think De Zerbi could probably do another year at Brighton. There's probably unfinished business for him.
Yep.
He's about to take Brighton into Europe, which is like their biggest achievement as a club in their history. So, why not give him the opportunity, or try and keep him to give him the opportunity to see how far they go in Europe? I mean,
no, for sure. I just think he has done too well for the job. I mean, when you do too well, then you can be poached by anyone. I mean, anyone. We're talking, if Ancelotti wants to move on, or basically, I'm talking, you could go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's how well he's done.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so I think we'll leave questions for now, just because, it's getting a bit late and I'm not feeling the best still. But Pras, mate, I really appreciate you coming along and sharing your insight as always. We'll just chat on Twitter and stuff. I mean, there'll be plenty of spaces in the next week. I'm sure there'll be lots of people doing them on Chat About Game Week 37. Before you go, are there any real wild punts that you could see yourself going for? Because I know you're a bit safer than some, but
hey, I Captain Trippier.
This is true. Okay, fine. So, are there any punts you think of for the last 2 weeks?
I'm actually in the process of writing an article for Scout, and the title of the article is "The Case for Not Attacking Game Week 37." So, even though it's the last double game week of the season, I think where we're landing is a lot of people have 3 Brighton already, a couple of Man United, if not 3, couple of Man City. And so it feels like any transfers you make for extra doubler, especially without Rashford, don't have the same upside as if you were to hold your transfer if you can, and then go for 2 punts in game week 38. So that at least is the theme of what I was trying to say. Things may open up if there's an injury in the Real Madrid game, if Rashford is out. But I think for the moment, my idea is teams look good for 37, so don't force it, because I don't see much upside of selling a Salah for a De Bruyne, or a Trippier for a Diaz, or a Rashford for an Antony. So at least that's where my mindset is now, and we'll see if more things open up.
Fair enough. No specific names. You're not giving any names, any punts or anything like that. Can you pull a punt out that you might think that would work, that could work in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, if you
do you like a
Man United player? A Man United player if you don't have a third one. So if you don't have Bruno, if you don't have Antony, if you don't have Martial, if you wanted to go really punt territory, then I think those are, because a double and then home to Fulham is basically the best fixture duo that you can have, and they have a lot to play for. So that would be my call.
Fair enough. I think you can get away with going for. I think you could punt on. Depends on how it goes on Thursday, but you could punt on West Ham attacker. I think you could go for a cheeky Dwight McNeil over the last 2 weeks.
Sure. I mean, anything goes now, right now.
I think it's fun.
All about who's got the motivation to.
I think Everton, Bournemouth, Everton at home to Bournemouth on the last day of the season could be massive.
Calvert-Lewin's injured though, right? I mean, at least he came off at halftime. But yeah, maybe that makes a difference. But yeah, McNeil has been great regardless.
Feels good for that. Okay, cool. We'll leave it there, mate. Again, appreciate it. Baker,
thanks for having me.
Baker, if you actually listen back to this at all, I'm massively jealous of you being out in Scottsdale, you wanker, obviously. But enjoy yourself. And to those that have joined us on YouTube, thank you very much. And if you're listening back on the podcast, thank you as well. And we'll speak to you next time. See you later, mate.
See ya.
Cheers, mate.